Dear guests, please take your seats as we're about to start our final session for the day, Becoming a Pro Trader, Tools, Habits, and Mindset. Joining us on stage is the Chief Currency Analyst at ForexLive, Adam Button. Adam, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. This is going to be a good one. That was sort of the title of this, but I'm called Becoming a Pro Trader, but the real title of it is 5 magic words that are going to help you make money. Now listen, I know there are a lot of people here that are talking a lot about trading as professional traders or whatever, or making money. This is what I do for a living. It's how I make my living. And I don't know if there are many people in this room that are actually doing it, but I'm here and I'm going to tell you what I've learned in 15 years of doing this. And this is it. This is it. This is the best I got. And I'm giving it out today. 5 magic words. We're going to get to that, and we're going to get to a lot of trades that I like right now. I promised to do that in the other panel. We're going to get to that. This is me. I trade macro, so that means news, headlines, everything in the world I'm watching all the time. I don't get out of the office very often. I probably do 2 presentations a year. Mostly I'm just watching a whole bunch of computer screens, the news of the whole world, waiting for something to happen, and just reading, and more reading. And that is sort of the key to my trading. It's waiting, it's reading, and it's being ready when something happens in the world, knowing what it means and knowing what to buy or what to sell when it happens. And it all comes down to just doing the work, to being ready, to reading everything, and sitting at the desk for long hours, and that's trading for me. And there's a lot of people here who are going to tell you that it's easy. And hey, listen, I've seen people make money a million different ways. I talked to this young trader. He just levered up like 1,000 to 1 with $100 or $250 in his account, and he made $250,000 that day. So I'm not going to say anybody can, and I think he quit trading after that. It was a short oil trade when oil went negative. And I think it's actually a long trade when oil went negative, but just caught the volatility of it. And I have a video about that at ForexLive, and he did it that way. And that's not the way I make money. I don't know many people that can just hit it out of the park, but I've seen people make money in a lot of different ways. But the people I've seen consistently make money, my mentors, they do the work. They're in the markets day after day, waiting, a lot of waiting. And this is Jim Rogers, so he's a legendary commodity investor. I don't know if that's big enough for you to read, but what he's saying is that 98% of the people don't do the work. And if you think that there are people like at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or others that are really on top of it, there aren't. There are really very, very few people out there that are actually doing the work. You don't always get rewarded for the work, but if you do it, if you are willing to do it, there is a payoff in doing the work. But you have to manage it right, and that's what a lot of this is about. Doing the work is no guarantee. And doing the work can sometimes set you up for failure because you feel like, since I've done the work, I've studied this, I have to get the trade right. Well, that's not how it works either. So you have to be ready, you have to do the work, but that's not how it always works. But anyway, I was up here last year on this same stage, I guess a floor or 2 below this, and I talked about conviction, the importance of conviction if you're going to make a trade. And I offered 4 trades for, the year ahead. That was a video of me down there, and there were the ones that I was talking about. And one was about margins and AI and the importance, and how it was going to make a lot of companies a lot of money. And here we are, the S&P 500's up 25% since then. AI, everything has boomed. It felt then, a year ago, that it was late, that we were all late to the trade because it had moved a lot. Well, guess what? It moved a lot more, and you had to have the conviction. Green energy, this is a trade I like a lot right now. And we talked about copper last year, that there was going to be a shortage of copper. I mean, this is a great mining nation. We talked about gold as well, but not in that trade. And copper is something I've been watching for 3 or 4 years. Setting up this whole trade, waiting, doing the work, looking at supply demand, worrying about Chinese demand, thinking, okay, it's probably a 2025 trade. Do I want to get in early? How much do I want to scale in? Do I want to wait for it to start moving? Here we are, and it's up 15% in the last year. Miners have doubled. Every miner that I own is doubled. And even with that, there's a lot of pain in this trade. Like, I'm probably up 30% on a lot of those trades that doubled. just because you're in the right place, but it's not easy. And you can trick yourself into making a lot of mistakes when you don't get it right, but I'm still on the right side of the trade. The third one that we talked about last year was misunderstanding around energy, the energy transition. The idea was everything's going to go batteries really quickly. Oil and gas is dead. And we're finding right now that it's very difficult to make energy. And now we're finding with AI, it's going to take even more energy to be made. And something like uranium's up, that we talked about last year, is up 65%. And anything related to that has been crushing it. And the final one was, and we're going to talk about like other ideas I have on top of these that are going to work in the year ahead towards the end of the presentation. And the last one, I talked about the U.S. consumer, the true power of the U.S. Never bet against the U.S. consumer. I talked about U.S. mortgages, 30-year fixed mortgages, how Americans borrow for 30 years at one rate. So when inflation happens, it doesn't hurt their spending. And the U.S. dollar was the best performer in the last year, which was exactly what I was saying then. So, when I wrote that, I said I'll probably get 2 out of the 4 of these right, and I'd be happy with that. It ended up being 4 out of 4. And, listen, going ahead, there's nothing guaranteed. But the 5 magic words are there is always another trade. And these are the words that I say to myself all the time, because a lot of the traps you find yourself in are, I set up a copper trade for 4 years, circled it, had it dead to rights, everything about it. I'm up 30%, probably should be up a lot more than that. And now what do? Now it's at all-time highs today. Now should I be adding to that? Should I be loaded up the way I wish I were loaded up? Well, now you're taking another risk, right? So in any trade, in any mindset, you can wreck a trade or you can make mistakes. You have to remember there is always going to be another trade. You have to stay in the game. Whatever trade you feel like you just missed, and anyone who's been in this game will feel like, I got into trading because I saw something. I wanted to buy a company. And then you miss it, or you're late to the game. There's always going to be another one. And a lot of what you're trying to do is not make mistakes. If you feel yourself wanting to chase something, and you can say to yourself, listen, there's always another trade. It's comforting, and those are the words I say to myself time after time. When it's fear of missing out, you're missing out on a trade, let it go. There's always another trade. If you're revenge trading, that means you made a mistake, you want to compound it, let it go. There's always another trade. If you're over trading, you don't need to make it all next week or next month. Stay in the game, it'll work. When your patience isn't rewarded, like I was talking about, or you're fighting the trend, just wait. There will be another trade. You don't need to make that many good trades. We'll talk about mindset. A lot of being successful in trading are those 3 things. And if I only had to have one, I don't think brains are that important. Courage is oftentimes bad. It's nice when you get it right, but you've got to have the heart, and the heart really means taking the pain, staying in the game, being able to take a beating, and really keep that in mind as you're a trader, that it's never going to be easy. A lot of people will tell you that it's easy. And then this one, a lot of the reason people chase a trade is because they'll have a brilliant idea, a trade that they were right about. But really, in truth, it's not that hard to find something that's going up. I can find right now 10 or 20 charts of things that have gone up 9 of the last 10 days, things that have doubled in the last month. And, a lot of the mistakes you can make are chasing things like that or trying to buy something that's way down. We're hardwired to buy things that are on sale. Even if you think about the commercial world, I was at this mall over here, which is like the most impressive mall I think I've ever seen. I didn't expect to find it here. But, why do they have sales at these stores? What is the point of a sale? It's this sense of scarcity, that this thing's going to go away, that it's down now and it won't last, right? And that's that feeling you get when you're buying something that's down 10 days in a row, that I need to buy it now, I want to catch this bottom. That's a terrible habit. So, when you have a great idea, just wait. It's on sale. It'll go on sale again, same as the thing at the store here. And stay in the game. Just stay in the game. A technique that I like to talk about a lot is visualization. And it's so powerful in a lot of fields in life, is visualizing the journey that you're going to go on. And I can tell you one of my favorite trading stories with this guy I sat next to. He didn't really know a lot, didn't have brains, didn't really put in that much work. But he had this idea. It was a dollar CAD trade, and he ended up making $1 million on it. He had built up this account to, I think, from $15,000 to $30,000, kind of grinded it out. And he believed when dollar CAD broke 114, it was going to 130. And he just believed it. And he ended up being right. But it didn't go straight there. And it went up, and it got in pretty good, because it was a big level, it broke. And I think it went up to like 120 or 125. And then it crushed down 800 pips. And that was a lot of pain. Like, he went up from being up maybe 700 grand to 300,000. And I really respected how he sort of took the pain, he held with the conviction, and it ended up making $1 million, and he went to work at a hedge fund afterwards. I didn't trade like him, but he was able to sort of, as simple as that trade looks in hindsight, it was a lot of pain to go through it, and it was almost like a perfect trade. But listen, there is no trade that is not deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And even if you believe in something, you better be ready to take the pain along the way. Now, this is a different idea, and I think this is the best trade out there. And I think this is a muscle that you need to flex and get good at if you're going to be a trader, and it's fading fear. Fear is the most powerful emotion. And there's an anecdote I like to say and trade. What do you do if there are reports of nuclear war? What do you do with your account if everyone said the nuclear bombs are about to fly? And most people would say, well, I'd sell everything, right? No. The answer is you buy everything. Because if there's nuclear war, none of it matters anyway. The money doesn't matter. If the reports are wrong, you're going to make a lot of money as the market bounces back. You know, there's so much fear that drives markets, and it's scary. It's scary when everyone is saying, get out, everything's going really bad. You know, the muscle you want to develop is reading a room, listening to everything, and everyone's scared. And it makes you feel scared too. And you got to think, everyone's scared right now. Like, I don't have the courage to go all in at that point, but I'm a buyer on fear and a seller on exuberance. And it's easy to say, but sort of reading a room, feeling what other people are feeling, and recognizing what that is, and particularly fear. The best opportunities are around war. I mean, COVID, right? It wasn't that long ago. Everything got blown up in COVID, and it was really the best opportunity of our lifetime. It wasn't easy, especially at the bottom of it, but that was the right trade. The second one is really don't bet against humanity. You know, greed and the long arc of the history, and all the people really working in the world are working to make it better, to build things, to do something. To fade the whole world is a losing strategy. You really have to find something you believe in. If you really want to make money, I think you have to find something that you believe in that's going to make the world a better place. To bet on things going to zero, and I've done it, it's hard. I don't know of anybody who's really successfully done it. You know, these guys who are shorts, I mean, our big competitor at ForexLive is Zero Hedge. And they've been saying it for since they started, that everything's going to zero. And people love to read it. And it sounds really smart if you're on TV. But nobody makes any money betting. Everything's gone up and up and up every year. It's very difficult. You know, you can, if you don't like something, just leave it alone if you don't believe in it. You don't need to bet on it to go to zero. Find something you do believe in and get some conviction. And this chart just sort of demonstrates it. And this is sort of like global GDP, life expectancy, energy use. And that's the sort of point there is like the Industrial Revolution. And it's been straight up since then. That's been machines doing work for people. AI is the next level of that. And it's going to be a continued pattern for our lifetime, is that things will get better, and you don't want to bet against the world. And that's a lesson that I think it's tough to learn, because everybody wants things to go down so they can buy it. You know, I'd love to buy any of those big companies or something super cheap, because it's certainly nice when it bounces back. But things are getting better. And then if you want to do this, if you want to get the timing right in a trade, if you actually want to make money, you can't be scared. Like, you can't chicken out when it matters. And to do that, like, you have to have conviction, but you have to have confidence. And I talked about it earlier, but you have to have confidence in your broker, you have to have confidence in your tools. Most of all, you have to have confidence in yourself and what you're trading. And how do you get that? It's easy enough to say, like, everybody would like to be more confident. Experience helps, right? But in terms of technique, the one tip I would say, because listen, this business will wreck your confidence. I believe I'm as good as anyone at this, and there are days when you just feel like dirt. When you watch your account go down day after day, you did something that was stupid, you just beat yourself up all day, you're just trying not to make another mistake to compound the last one you made. How do you get your confidence back? And this is it. You have to just adjust your position size. If you're running cold, trade small. I have traded so unbelievably small to get my confidence back, just to get a couple things back on side again. And so you don't, the inclination is that, okay, I got to get it back. I got to trade even bigger. Let's double down. Let's make a bigger position. No. It's the opposite. Trade small, trade really small, trade stupid small until you start getting it right again. Then the confidence starts to work for you, and then the market starts to work for you. And I've seen it happen over and over again. There's nothing wrong with trading small. All right, so I promised I'd do this. And it was interesting about those conviction trades because my conviction in all of them is just as high as it was a year ago. And that's what happens when you do the work and you invest in themes that you really believe in and they're working. I mean, some of them, if they didn't work, I would get out. If new information came out, I wouldn't be and all those things. I was as long copper as I've ever been, and gold, which I have a ton of conviction in right now. New ones, though, is inflation. The great debate in markets right now is inflation. And I wish I could give a whole presentation on why I think inflation is going to come down. And that is the biggest opportunity right now. Now, what's my confidence level in that? 60, 70%. I'm scaled appropriately. Anything long duration, anything that will benefit from rates coming down, simple as buying bonds. And there's a lot of different ways to trade that, but inflation coming down is a high conviction trade. Now, not around the world. I don't know what inflation is going to do in South Africa. I don't write about South Africa too much. I like learning about South Africa when I'm here. I'm talking about the United States, Europe, Canada, where I'm from. It's coming down, and it will stay down because AI is a power. There are going to be absurd job losses due to AI, incredible productivity enhancements, and globalization isn't ending as much as people believe it is. And I would love to go into those points more. I will be over at my booth. Well, I guess today's just about over, but all day tomorrow. If anyone wants to talk about markets, there is nothing that I enjoy more than chatting about what's happening in the world and fundamentals. And then the last one is China. China's back. China's solved. Get involved. China is coming out of the bottom right now. It's been a rough go in China, but anything China levered, which is a lot of commodities in the world, are China driven. And they're solving the property market there. Chinese markets are strengthening, and it's still extraordinarily cheap. And I've got a lot of conviction in that one. And again, you have to trade. You could be right and you could make money. You could be right and you could lose money. But these are themes, and that's how I trade, is having high conviction in something like this. And my conviction is constantly challenged. But you have to have a deep conviction in a trade to be long and be right, and you've got to trade it right. So that's where I stand, and I'll be back here hopefully next year talking about it again, and we'll see. But those are sort of there is always another trade, and if I'm wrong about those two or the other ones, I'm going to sit in there and do the work, find another trade that does work, and trade it right. And that's where I stand, and I really appreciate you guys coming. I think I can take some questions. I don't know if we have questions over here, but I'm happy to take them if anybody has one. I've got a couple minutes left, so yeah, sure. Oh yeah, somebody will come over with a microphone.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Yes, my name is Boucher. So I just have a simple question, but it confuses me, particularly China. So China is, as everyone knows, the second largest economy, I think. But why is it that we can't find it as one of the top traded currencies in the world?
Okay, yeah, that was a bit of a fundamental question. Well, they don't freely float their currency. So the Chinese yuan trades in a band and they manage the currency. So a lot of why China does that is they don't want money leaving the country. So a lot of the wealthy people in China try to get their money out of China however they can. So China restricts that at the banks. And it also restricts money coming in. So they don't let their currency move a lot. So trade, it's very difficult to trade, and it's very difficult even to acquire outside of the country. So it's not an open economy, and that's the reason why it's difficult to trade. You can trade Chinese assets, but the currency itself, it's not something I trade, and it's a difficult one to trade. But happy to talk more about China over at the booth. I don't know if we got time for another question, or if there is another question. If not, oh, we have another quick one. I do appreciate everyone in South Africa having me so much. It's a long way to come.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, great.
I wanted to know how you deal with all the geopolitical risks that happen around the world, and also how do your convictions remain strong? Because last year, if I'm not mistaken, there was a change in bias from economic analysts whereby there was a soft landing and then there was hard landing, and then when there was a no landing, and then they went back to a soft landing. So how do you trade around all of that?
It's tough. I mean, things like that are very tough because everybody in the room is telling you one thing, right? And you can't always just go against, like a lot of the times you're just waiting for what the Fed is doing and going with whatever the Federal Reserve is doing and trying to find those trends. How do you have conviction in it? I mean, you just got to. I mean, and you have to challenge it. And, you know, the easiest thing to do is sort of say, listen, I believe this is the future. I believe whatever it is, and just kind of bury all the news. And that's not how I operate. Listen, that might work for a lot of people to believe in one thing and never challenge it. And if you're right, listen, it would work because it's difficult to challenge it all the time. But that's what works for me is staying on top of it, and it adds to my conviction, and it helps me get away from things that are going wrong. But like you said, it's very difficult to hear headlines that go against what you believe in and to see things change. But how I get it right is just doing the work and seeing those changes, and then like experience. I really believe stay in the game. There's always another trade. There will be another cycle. And if you can get in good and you have the conviction and you visualize yourself staying in a trade, you can stay in the trade. I mean, you don't have to make 1,000 good trades to get where you want to get. You know, you can get there in 5 or 6 really good trades. If you're right and you do it right. It's probably in reality more than that, but stay in the trade. And yeah, thanks so much for having me here in South Africa. And it's been a pleasure to speak, and I'll be happy to talk all day long tomorrow or whenever. Thank you very much.